Hello again, YouTube. So as you can probably see already, I'm trying something a little bit different now. This is hopefully a kind of paltry attempt at what will in future become quite a well-produced piece of work. At the moment, I'm just using a voice recorder on my iPhone and some random images and iMovie on my Mac to throw this together. So yeah, bear with it, and hopefully it's just a bit more interesting than my previous shaky camera work. Anyway, the reason why I'm making this video so soon after doing others is because once again I've been inspired by somebody else's videos. It's actually a YouTube user called FiberBiscuit, who I urge you all to check out. He very kindly gave me a shout out on one of his videos actually, which I only just found, so thank you very much for that. But he's got some fantastic stuff, but one of his videos he did was actually on how he got into collecting comic books. And that made me think that you guys might be interested to know how I got into comic books, being from England, because it kind of escaped your attention that I'm I'm English, and I grew up in the UK, obviously. So, how did I get into comic books? And so I thought I'd let you know. So basically, it all sort of happened in three separate waves. I grew up in the 90s. I'm in my mid-20s now. So my first exposure to just kind of Batman and Spider-Man and those kind of characters would have been in early sort of Saturday morning TV shows, which they still showed over here. And in the toys that I ended up getting as a result, and really it wasn't so much comic books themselves; it was just the characters in other media that I saw for a long time. And then when I was at school, a comic book shop opened. I live in quite a small market town called Hitchin, and a store called Speeding Bullet opened, and I remember just kind of stopping in on my way home from school one day, and got chatting to the guy who ran it. It was a guy called Danny, and he was a really, really, really nice guy, and he kind of got me into the whole thing. And at the time, I was absolutely obsessed with Japan. I was obsessed with anything Japanese. So he gave me a load of comics to go away with, or actually it was a load of kind of manga stuff. There was a thing called Raijin, which is a monthly, I think it was, kind of summary of all the manga that was coming out that month. And I got into stuff like Fist of the North Star, and some American comic books as well that were Japanese focused. Like there was one called Bastard Samurai, which was pretty cool. And these little kind of, I mostly collected kind of 3 to 5 part mini-series on various bits and bobs. And also I was really into vampire stuff, so I started collecting 30 Days of Night, and there was a series called Blood and Water, and I like to think I got into vampires before vampires were cool, before all this True Blood and what are those books called? Twilight Saga, that's the one. Anyway, before all that came along, but then I think I first got into superhero stuff with Batman 608. That was the first superhero comic book I ever bought, and that happened to be the very first issue of the Hush sort of saga, and that story arc, and I got to the whole of that story arc, and there were some great books in there, and there was 612 was a particularly good one that had the cover with Superman sort of strangling Batman on the cover. So yeah, those were fantastic, and they kind of really got me to the whole superhero thing. And then I started collecting Ultimate Spider-Man as well. This is when they were sort of only just really released the kind of Ultimate Universe, and but I only kind of got the trade paperbacks rather than the actual comics themselves. So I bought the first few volumes of the Ultimate Spider-Man TPBs, and they were great, and I really, really got into them as well. So anyway, Danny, the guy who ran the store, he was kind of, giving me bits and bobs of information, but I was only a school kid, so he obviously wasn't going to try and get me to invest money or anything, because I didn't have any. But he kind of taught me about looking after comics and bagging and boarding them and stuff, and I got my first few kind of long boxes, and not that I needed them at the time, I had a handful of comics, and my bags and boards and things, and So then, a couple of things happened here. First of all, the store closed. Unfortunately, Danny's wife, he got married, and she encouraged him to get a proper job. So he closed up the comic book store and he moved to London, and he started doing something very boring. And around the same time as well, as I said before, I was obsessed with Japan, and I actually got the opportunity to travel to Japan. Me and a friend saved up a load of money. Maybe I'll talk about this in a separate video. Yeah, we went off to Japan for a month, so that was great. And that seems to mark the point where I sort of stopped collecting as soon as that store closed. And then there was nothing for years. I still collected stuff. I kind of was into stamp collecting a little bit when I was younger. Again, Japanese stuff, mostly. And I've always had that kind of collecting, I don't know, passion. And it's also worth mentioning, I guess, that I did a degree in graphic design, and I've always been really into my art stuff as well. So, that's one of the reasons that comic books have always appealed. But then, a couple of years ago, probably maybe 2008, something like that, I was trawling through YouTube just looking at random videos like you do, and I came across this obscure Expert Village video. And I don't know if you've ever seen Expert Village videos in the past, but they are... they're debatable whether the word expert can be used, let's put it that way. So there was this charming lady on her talking about comic book collecting, and most of the information she was giving was a load of rubbish, but it did actually get me interested, and I kind of started rethinking about the whole collecting thing, and dug out my comic books that I'd saved from earlier and started looking up, and a couple of them had gone up in value. I mean, Batman 608, which is the one that I'd, the first ever superhero comic book, it was probably worth about 4 or 5 times more than I actually paid for it, and I started getting really interested in that, and then out of that, I started getting really, really interested in the whole kind of Americana culture, everything to do with America. And I was kind of into that stuff before, and this kind of really hit it off. I've always been into American music, and especially the whole kind of grunge, Seattle, early 90s scene. But this kind of went hand in hand with that. And I started looking at more YouTube stuff and forums and bits and bobs, and I started buying up books that I was interested in. I found out that Ultimate Spider-Man was kind of taken originally, from Amazing Spider-Man. That was the original Spider-Man series. So I started buying up those, and I started looking at X-Men and Iron Man as well. And during this period, I made tons of mistakes. It's almost like the reason I make videos now is to kind of make amends for the stuff I did then. I paid way too much for nearly every book that I picked up. I mistook Bronze Age books for Silver Age books. Everything I did was rubbish. But I had to go through that phase to kind of get to where I am now, I guess. And then I started to get the hang of it. I bought 1 or 2 really good books. I bought an Amazing Spider-Man 300 for a really good price, and a couple of others. But then I actually went travelling again. So the thing that stopped my first wave is I went to Japan, and then the second one is I actually went to America. I went to America for a couple of months, and so I kind of quit collecting again for a little while. And then when I actually came back, I had to sell off the majority of my valuable books to actually get some money back, because I racked up a few debts when I went. It was an amazing trip, and I might actually just, if people are interested, I might do a video on my travels in America, because I went across the whole country. So anyway, then after I'd kind of got myself back with a job and stable again, I moved into my own place, and since then, from then till now, I've kind of taken the whole thing a lot more seriously. I've done loads of research. I've obviously started making these videos. I've started posting on forums, and I've discovered a real passion for Silver Age Marvel books. That seems to have been my kind of particular sphere of expertise. It's just something about the artwork and I don't know, something about them really, really grabs my attention, and it's within my price range to buy nice copies. If I would be collecting, sort of mint golden age stuff if I had the money, but I think Silver Age stuff is very accessible, and I'm really interested in kind of becoming something of an expert on it. So kind of here I am, really, and I'm actually going travelling again soon, or not so much travelling. I'm just off to California for for a few weeks, maybe 3 weeks or so in September. So hopefully I won't have to sell any books this time, and I'd like to think that I won't have any kind of pause on my collection. So yeah, that was kind of in a nutshell how I got into collecting. I'd really love to hear other people's stories on how you wound up getting into comic books, especially if you're from a more kind of obscure part of the world. Maybe the UK like me, or sort of other parts of Europe, or or North America as well. I'm just interested in hearing how everyone got into books. And please leave your stories in the comment section below. Or even better, if you could make a video and post it as a video response, that'd be great. Because there's a lot of people who pointed out we're growing a really amazing community here on YouTube, and it would be great for all of us to share our experiences. So anyway, until the next time, take care, guys. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, it would be very much appreciated. And I'll be back very soon with a collection update that I'm really excited about, and particularly remember what I was talking about with my first Batman book, because that could be cropping up again soon. So take care. Take care, guys. Bye.